Looks like you. I don't know. It looks weird.
Move it up and down again. That's weird.
Oh, what does it look like?
Hey folks, welcome back. Today I'm going to be taking you through a shop tour because we haven't done an update in a little while with the new shop. I'm here with a friend of mine, Jason Lonon, who makes adzes and does other blacksmithing, makes other blacksmithing tools, and he also was my old welding instructor in high school. So I brought him along to check out some of my cool stuff. Some of this stuff is more just for axes. Some of it is more for our own personal use in the shop. So I'll kind of show you all the different advantages.
Let's start the big green thing down at the end of the row here.
All right, down here we've got a big Sebastian Lathe, and this fell into our laps. A man came by one day just out of the blue, showed up at the shop and said that he had this lathe. He walked up to the garage door. I was like, how big is he? He's like, about as big as this 9-foot garage door. I was like, all right.
I think it's bigger than 9 feet.
I was like, okay, we'll go look at it. That sounds good. We went there later that day, and he delivered it into the shop the next day on his rollback, and it was dirt cheap, so it just kind of fell into my lap. This isn't something that I necessarily need, but you know, under the circumstances, it wasn't something that I had to really avoid. So this machine is going to pretty much only be used for our own personal needs in the shop, to make tooling, to fix tools on other tools. The things that are made on this lathe won't ever be sold, most likely. And this is a smaller lathe that I got at an auction.
Handy. You don't see that name a whole lot.
Handy tool room lathe. And from what I've already shown you this before, and you have told me good things about Handy brand.
That's right. I've got a 1910 Handy lathe in my shop. Not the tool room lathe. It's a bigger, more general purpose lathe, but very well made piece.
We had it wired just temporarily to see if it worked, and
does it work?
It does work. Yeah, it works great. It still has to be hooked up to a transformer first because it's 480 and we have to convert to 208. But just from using it, I don't know much about lathes, but we were just messing around with everything and spinning it. And this, compared to the other lathe, was just a world of difference. I could just tell by using it that this machine is such a higher quality than the other lathe. So this one will be used in knife making projects and then our own tooling as well.
Wow, that'll be a fun piece to run.
Yeah, pretty excited to get to learn how to use it.
Do you want to talk about that giant table behind you?
Yeah, so it actually came with the green lathe from Elmer down the road.
Wait, you got these were together?
Yes.
You gave them.
This was like a throw-in deal.
Throw-in deal. This is a granite. It's a piece of granite here.
This is a 6-inch thick, 3-foot square granite surface plate for layout table, for like height gauges and dial indicators to check for heights and flatnesses, and laying out, scribing for machining. So this will stay in the machine shop part of the shop.
So this is not your typical milling machine. A lot of people will be familiar with like a Bridgeport milling machine. This is different. This was, I believe, used for die sinking and very, very precision sort of handwork, if you will.
Yeah, from what I understand, I don't know a whole lot about mills. We all know Bridgeport, a very well-known brand. From what I've heard, that the Gorton was a step above the Bridgeport as far as the overall build quality and everything, but it didn't have the versatility that a Bridgeport does.
I've run Bridgeports. This is certainly a different category.
It's a very solid machine. Very simple, very solid though, well built. And what I found really neat is how this machine turns on. It's just this little lever here. And it even has a brake on it if you need to stop it in a hurry.
Wow, that's great.
It's pretty slick the way that they made this machine. So we'll be using that a lot in knife making, custom knife making, as well as making our own tooling.
So I remember when you were still in high school, you got a milling machine. And we're so excited about your milling machine. It's a little smaller than this. I think it fit on a tabletop.
I think it was about 70 pounds.
Okay. So how does it feel to be upgrading to a big milling machine?
It's kind of surreal because I've never gotten to use a real milling machine where I can use a bit bigger than a 1/4 inch without chatter. So this will be fun to use, and I can use all sorts of different cutters in it without really having to worry about.
So I see right now you've got this little wee bitty cutter. Have you tried it with a big cutter yet?
Not yet, because I don't have the collets for the machine.
Can't you just get some new collets for it?
No, and I know you know the answer to that already. The collets for this machine were made by Gorton. Oh crap!
Liam.
The fastest
Mercer.
broken.
Tell Mercer that you shouldn't be texting me while we're filming. So the collets for the Gorton milling machine were made by Gorton specifically for Gorton mills. Whereas today with Bridgeport and a lot of other mills, you're going to get R8 collets. This is not universal, so it's very difficult to get collets for this machine. However, the man that I bought this from has an entire set that he's going to give to me. He just has to find them first.
Which you're really lucky to find that. But here's the thing. With this machine,
Oh gosh.
you can actually make some of those hard to find parts, just like that specific Gorton collet. You can measure that one and get the specifications and actually reproduce that on this lathe. Take some time,
That would be
some skill,
incredibly difficult.
but it is possible. That's the way they originally would have been developed.
Yeah, if it comes to that, I guess I could try. It might take me a few tries. And then this is a really neat piece of equipment.
It's a 3-headed drill press.
Yes, 3-headed drill press. It's a high-speed drill press with really pressure-sensitive control. It goes up to 12,000 RPM.
That's just humming right along.
12,000. So we can put really small diameter bits in there. Carbide would like the high speed. And we can drill the really small diameter holes without getting a lot of, I don't know what you'd call it, walking or
Wandering. As it goes through. Right. And the smaller the diameter you're drilling, the faster you want to run that. It's
Right.
like your big, what's that, a 1-inch drill.
Yeah.
You need to run that a lot slower.
Yeah, I still need to clean. You can see this is the before and this is the after. I've cleaned up these two heads. And what's amazing is that these machines are probably close to 80 years old, 60 to 80 years old. And just take a little bit of gunk off there and it's smooth as can be.
Mm-hmm. So why not just buy new equipment?
The advantage of these old tools is that we can find them less expensive. They're more simple than computerized machines that we have today, but for this type of shop setup, it's perfect. The simple setup is perfect. And then moving over here, we've got another drill press. This is another old
Walker
piece.
Turner.
Walker Turner.
That's a good name.
And it is a this is what we use for our larger diameter bits, more simple drilling setup. This will be more convenient to use. This will be more set up for production. Then the surface grinder, which I've had for quite a while. This comes,
I like your belt attachment on that.
belt
That looks really
converted.
useful.
We use this frequently for knife making, for grinding integral knives, all parallel, cleaning up Damascus billets, and making our own tooling. Surface grinder really comes in handy for a lot of different things.
Speaking of grinding belts, what's this gigantic one?
And this is another new piece of equipment. This is a
That
25
just looks like an accident waiting to happen.
25 horsepower belt grinder, 3 feet
3 feet wide.
by 12 foot 3 inches long.
That's a lot of sandpaper.
Yes. It's a beast of a machine. Peak running amps is 80. This will pull 80 amps when you first start it up.
That's more than I burned in all my whole shop.
Coasting, you're going to be pulling about 35 amps. So this is a production piece of equipment. This is not something that you turn on real quick just to deburr a little piece of steel. The plan for this is I'm going to raise this height up, and Chad and I will both be able to grind at the same time. So it's already a cost saving. You've got 2 people on one piece of equipment at the same time. The surface feet on this is pretty substantial. It's direct drive to a 16-inch drum on the bottom. So this is going to be for rough grinding axes. This will be our production grinder. That's what we hope for. And
impressive.
Yeah, it's a heck of a machine. Over here is a regular 2x72 belt grinder. This is the Wilmot grinder that we've been using.
It's sort of been the mainstay in your shop now for several years.
Mm-hmm. It is an excellent knife grinding belt grinder. We also use it for rough grinding axes and everything. So it can do really heavy work and really fine work. There's a few things today that are still dominated by hand tools and handwork. So let's take you, yeah, let's go over to the woodworking area here. So draw knifing, the draw knife is one of the tools that we use that's still very relevant today for production. That is a hand tool. We just did a video on this actually, how to use a draw knife.
Hey, I recognize that draw knife.
Sorry, let me get this one.
Hey, I recognize that one too. That's Ben Orford.
This was made by Jason. So we use the draw knife to...
I said it here for torture testing.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. No, it does.
We do use a draw knife a lot. We draw knife all the eyes on the axes because they're all custom fit, and to get a machine to custom fit axe heads would be a nightmare. I don't know how much that would cost or what the machine would even look like, or if it would be possible. You'd have to change the program for every axe head, given on how the axe head needs to be adjusted. So
how fast are you at doing this?
we can rough out an eye from like this block to something that starts to fit on there in about 20 seconds.
That's moving.
Some machines really make things more complicated. So
I love it. I love it when there's an example where the old way is still relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, what's your thought process as you add some of this machinery and as you still use hand processes? What goes through your mind when you're deciding about another piece of machinery or changing up your process?
Well, we're always trying to make the process more efficient. We're trying to work smarter and not harder, but at the same time trying to maintain and increase the quality. And those two things are sort of opposites of each other. Faster, you get this point where they kind of cross, where faster and quality are going in two separate directions, and they cross, and we're trying to meet that right in the middle there, where, you know, I'll buy a new tool that can help us, but we have to usually make our own tooling for it and figure out how to incorporate it into the handmade process, because even though it's a machine, it's still operated. Jacob,
I'm so sorry.
Stop texting while you're filming.
It's the wife. Go.
So even though the machine has power behind it, it's a motor, we essentially just use that as, you could think of it as that's our strength, and then we're using our minds to control the machines to get the end product.
I see, and the draw knife is a great example of this concept. I've been using draw knives since I was a teenager, and the more you use a hand process, whether that be a draw knife or whether that be freehand grinding with a belt grinder, the more you train that muscle memory, the faster and the more accurate and better you're going to get simultaneously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hand tools take a lot of practice, as do machines. So my thought process on getting new machines in is just that, trying to make the process easier on us and increasing quality, and then putting some of these old machines back to service. They're very simple, very well built, and they've got some history and legacy behind them, which we think is cool. Some people may not care about that. But yeah, we're just trying to use a combination of different pieces of equipment from different time periods and all incorporating it into one shop to put them to use. Become masters of them over time.
It's a worthy goal.
Mm-hmm. So we could go into the forging shop.
Yeah, let's take a look at the forge area.
Okay.
So this is your new forging area. This is bigger than your whole old shop.
This one area here is 20 by 36. So that's literally, is that double in square foot? That's over double my old shop in square foot.
That's a lot of space.
It looks small here, but my old shop was half this size in total. So
your first major piece of power equipment I remember was a hydraulic forging press.
hydraulic forging press, yes.
And
Audrey is
you've
dead.
worn out one.
Yes.
And you're on to your second hydraulic forging press. So you've got some hours on these presses and know them fairly.
I have broken one already. Consider me a master of killing presses. If you're confined to space and if you want to be noise conscious and you only could get one tool for production, I feel like the hydraulic forging press may be your best option. The amount of force that it puts out for its size is it'd be hard to rival it. You see how small that machine is.
That's not a lot of space.
It puts up 50 tons of force.
How many axes did you forge before you got the hydraulic press when you were doing it with a hand hammer and sledgehammer?
Oh gosh, maybe, I don't know what the actual number is, but I was doing it that way for 3 years, and I'd maybe make 1 or 2 a week, and that was a lot of work. That was a lot of forging with sledgehammers. You do a 3-pound axe.
Who was swinging your sledgehammer for you? Did you just bribe high school friends to come over to the shop after school?
I mean, I didn't bribe them. I made it sound very attractive.
Oh, that's right. Big sledgehammers, fire, blacksmithing. All my high school buddies, they'll be right here.
It wasn't hard to find some people.
Yeah, I remember.
In the new space, I have gotten 2 new power hammers. This is one that we're using right now for production. It looks kind of old, but that's just because we've gotten it so dirty already. It is brand new and just a few months old. And this power hammer is a similar machine to the forging press, as you already know, but for those who are watching and aren't familiar, the power hammer is much faster, but each blow is going to put less force on it than a 50-ton squish,
So this machine will put a squeeze, whereas this machine
hits.
is an impact.
Yeah.
What differences do you see in your product? Is it doing the same exact job, just a little differently? Are they fundamentally different? What are you finding, and how are you using them in your axe making?
For axes, you'll get the same exact finished product more or less, using one machine or the other. But this machine is faster at some steps than this machine is, and that machine is better for some things than that machine is.
What do you prefer the press for?
The press is what we're going to use for punching, a lot of eyes in the axes, multi-stage dies where we've got shears and different sorts of weird forms and shapes. That machine is easier to make tooling for. This machine is more open, just flat die or just fullers like what's on it now. This is much faster, so it's going to be great for thinner stock because thin stock cools down quickly. This press sucks the heat out. So both machines are both forging pieces of big forging equipment, but each one does its own sort of thing.
Now that you are using both a press and a hammer for what they each do best, what kind of axes, how many are you making a week now versus when you're doing it by hand?
Some weeks we'll make 8 axes, some week we'll make 30.
Wow, that's a big jump.
Yeah. And the quality, it just gets better and better with experience from getting to learn how to use the machines. So if I were to even attempt to fill my backlog without these tools, you'd be looking at a 20-year backlog. I'd be retiring by the time you got your axe that you ordered last year. So these machines are 100% essential, and these are machines that have been around for thousands of years in some form or another. The power hammer anyways. You've seen the old ones powered by water wheels.
Tell me about the skill required to operate these kind of machines as compared to, say, the skill for hand hammering.
The only thing that this machine makes easier is the physical strength and the fact that it takes out variables in how the hammer moves. The hand hammer, you move every direction possible. This is fixed. So that's easier, but you've got more power behind it. More power, more mistakes, easier mess ups, more scrap.
So you can make bigger mess ups.
Bigger mess ups faster.
So you use an interesting combination of hand processes and machine processes. Tell me, what are some of the essential characteristics of your axe that make it different from any other axe that you can just buy somewhere? What makes yours different because of the way that you make them?
Well, the overall aesthetic of the axe, some people may not care about that so much, but the overall aesthetic is really derived from the way that we make the axes, the forged scale finish, that forged texture on there that we leave on there. That's because it was forged, and we don't grind any of that off. And the handles are just raw wood because we start from lumber. So the overall aesthetic comes from our process, and some of the geometry on the cutting edge is something that is a lot more difficult to get from like a CNC machine or from unskilled labor. The overall fit and finish on the whole axe is very evident that it was made by hand. I don't want to say every single aspect is better, but if you were to nitpick it, every single aspect resembles a handmade process, even down to the heat treating. It's all heat treated in heat treating ovens. We take it out, we put it in the oil, whereas a more production factory environment, it's going to be going through on a line, probably getting induction heated and then dunked in water. And the steels that are used for water quenching are usually a lesser grade than an oil quenching steel. Oil quench steel is more labor, but it's a higher quality finished product. So that's what we aim for.
So you're not only investing in equipment, but you're also investing in your skilled labor side of things. Tell me about that.
Yes. So I've always had someone helping me, as we were talking about with the high school kids, the sledgehammers. I had people helping me before I got the power equipment. I've always had people helping me because it's so physically demanding. And I got Chad to start helping me. Jason.
Jason's turn.
So I hired Chad about 1.5 years ago to start training him to be a mini-me. And that is an extremely long process that we're always working on. Because of the way that we make the tools, it requires a really high skill level from a real life person rather than machine. If we change that, then it changes all the properties of the axe that we just talked about. So I hired Chad, and then ever since we've moved into this shop, we've grown another 3 people. And one of them being Jacob, who's filming right now. He's got his own skill set.
Hello, Jacob.
Hello.
He's got his own skill set. And then a few other people who are helping with, rougher parts of the process that don't require the same attention to detail, and starting to train them into eventually getting into more finesse and more detail-oriented tasks. That way we can take my processes and my knowledge and then scale them a little bit more. This business is one of the most difficult to scale because it requires people, very skilled people that require a lot of training. So that's something that I'm right now trying to work towards very slowly, teaching other people how to do what I do and then get the same product.
So what's one of the goals for your business? Why are you in business? What are you wanting to accomplish?
One thing, to make the best axes that money can buy. Don't know if that's possible or not, but that's what we're trying for.
You're making a valiant effort.
We're doing all right so far. Developing the processes and training the people to achieve that goal is proving to be extremely difficult. But we're working towards that goal slowly. Another goal of this business is selfish reason, to provide myself an independent lifestyle to where I can do what I want to do. And another reason, be able to support people around me. I want to be able to, with the high skilled labor, be able to provide everyone, a really nice job, really good income, really good environment. That's something that I'm working towards. Chad's nodding his head.
Nodding his head vigorously.
That's something that is extremely difficult that I would like to do. I would like to be able to pay everyone here extremely well. So all those things we're working towards. Just trying to make a little axe making, I don't know what you'd call it, like a little axe cult.
Axe cult.
So I've got to ask about the other power hammer here in the corner. This looks like an old one. Tell me about what you've got here.
This
looks
is
like something special.
It is very special. It is something that I just got with a lot of the other pieces of equipment that we already looked at in the machine shop. This is a Nasal power hammer. It was probably made in the 1920s. And this power hammer is a 300-pound weight power hammer.
What's the weight on your other power hammer?
For comparison, that is 165.
So this is roughly twice the
almost
weight
twice
of the Ram.
The actual machine weight. The smaller one is 6,000 pounds. This is 11,000 pound machine. So
big difference.
Both ways of measuring the power hammer size is almost double. It is still today by a lot of people considered the Cadillac of forging hammers. So this power hammer was extremely expensive new and still extremely expensive today. It's just the value that it still holds roughly 100 years later tells you the quality that it was built in when it was brand new.
You want me to go, for the clothes, you want me to go up there? Yeah. Okay.
So of all these new pieces of machinery you've gotten, what are you most looking forward to using?
Probably the power hammer, the Nasal power hammer. It also takes an incredibly long amount of time to get it set up because you need a pretty substantial foundation for it, but that's what I'm most excited to use.
Sounds like fun. Liam, this has been a great tour. Thanks for showing me around. I'm excited to see where you're headed with this.
Yeah, thanks for coming, and come back in a few months because the shop is ever evolving. As you know, we just moved in here a few months ago and construction is taking place. This place looks different every week. Hopefully in a couple months we'll have everything done, have production up and going, and show you back through.
All right. Thank you much.
Thanks.
All the best.
See ya.
Jason, you forgot your hat.